Welcome to this webinar today. This is a special webinar showcasing the reports that Essential Ed, you can run in Essential Ed, and specifically the report you should run when you're counting time in North Carolina. So it was unusual, but Jason reached out to me and asked if they could offer this session, and I think it's great. The more we know about which reports we should run, the better. So Jason Guard from Essential Ed, he's a blended learning specialist, will be doing part of the presentation. And we also have Karen Neal, the coordinator of ASE and data management from AB Tech, who probably most of you know during the Advances transition. Karen was a big part of that because AB Tech was one of the first schools to transition to Advances. So I'm excited to have both of them here, and we'll let Jason take it away.
Well, thank you, Dan Logus. We really appreciate this opportunity. And thank you, Karen Neal of AB Tech, for your diligence in working with us over the years to really fine-tune our time on task or proxy contact hours reporting features. And I want to thank all of you for your attention to this important topic of getting the reportable time on task as accurate as possible and really getting that duty handled as efficiently as possible. So Karen, if you can forward to the next slide, I just want to say that we really want to thank the field of adult ed through the Great 58 in North Carolina for your service to the thousands of people who can benefit from it. And as a gesture, I want to offer to everyone who is attending all of our free resources. Every year or so, we come out with a new teacher guide. Like last year, we were giving away the retention guide, which is really a great kind of a pile of different resources done by the field through professional learning communities, showing the best practices to crack the issue of retention. And this year we're giving away Overcoming Adult Learning Challenges, which really is there to help you adapt your services to bring out the best in every learner that you deal with. You can download those from the link and the website that is highlighted on this slide. Or you can message me, jason@essentialed.com. I can send you a hard copy through the mail, no problem. And again, it's a pleasure to work with you guys. And mostly I'll be in the back seat of this presentation while Karen shows you her best practices. But we're here to engage with you and really these conversations are a really valuable experience for essential education. We are always trying to keep our ear to the ground and use your input to improve our learner experience and teacher experience. So please don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments or the chat rather, and we will get them handled there or at various stopping points in the slides. We'll break and go back and mine the comments to field your questions. And with that, I want to hand it off to Karen Neal from AB Tech. Thank you again.
Thank you. Jason has been our rep since probably 2019. And so that's when we first started working with extension education at AB Tech. And it was very timely because you can imagine what happened in the spring of 2020. And so we have used extension ed in various formats, distance learning only, online only. We've used blended classes. And we have fine-tuned it to where we like it now. So I'll show you how that looked on the next slide. What we'll go over is how to separate Proxy hour times from in-person class times, how you group it by the day, and how to do that efficiently. And then a tip for minimizing manual entry. There is manual entry, but I'd like to share how we do this at AB Tech. So, and then please share your questions because Throughout my time with Extension Ed, I asked plenty of questions, and then I became a squeaky wheel, and it turned out to be a good thing because some changes were made on the report for our benefit. So, at that time last year, we had 110 online students in Extension Ed, and we were hand tallying their log in and log out times one by one. And we noticed that if they had internet trouble, they would be in and out, and we'd be counting up all those log-in times. And so trying to train our adjunct to figure that out, it was causing a lot of errors. And so we really needed a total times per day column on the report. So Extension Ed works with Dan Loja to approve this new column, and they had it up and running before summer 2025. So we were grateful for that. And I do want to thank other directors and community colleges in the field that wanted this change as well, because you advocated for this change, and I appreciate that. So this is where we go to pull the report, and we're probably going to have Jason jump in because he's got some good pointers about this, but I do want to point out that the continuous study time is for North Carolina reporting. So all the other reports are very interesting. We like them, but as far as reporting NRS hours, our FTE, we must use this report.
Thanks, Karen. I do think it's a good segue just to mention that even though this presentation is specifically narrowly tailored to the continuous study time report and getting your figures, to the state office, we have a lot of different reports in our program to help you figure out, what's really going on with your students and how to intervene and when to intervene. But most of the training that you could ever want is available under the training tab. There are recorded trainings that are bite-sized, and then there's like hour-long trainings, and then there's live sessions where you can have back and forth with our staff. And those are scheduled, a couple times a week. So, and there's beginner, intermediate, advanced, and some of them are specifically about using reports to improve student performance. So that's not the focus of our session here today, but I just wanted to let you know that if you have our LMS, all of that's at your fingertips under the training tab there at the top. And back to Karen.
Thank you. I'll add that there are webinars on the training tab, and my instructors appreciate them and watch those webinars. And it sort of takes the burden off of me as a coordinator to train them on those things. Extension Ed is providing that training. So for me as a supervisor, it's amazing. So one thing I want to say is we pull our report program wide. So we have many programs, but primarily we have students from the ELA program, the ABE program, the ASC program, which is mine. And instead of breaking up Extension Ed into different responsibilities, we just have one point person pulling the report for all of AB Tech. So we choose all students. We leave teacher in class blank. You can pull the report by the day, which is start and end on the same day, such as 4/21/2025. You could pull the report the day of, but somebody might log in 2 hours from now and you wouldn't get that. Location for the North Carolina report, it doesn't matter if you choose that or not. It's going to include both in class and out of class. And then the product, we choose all of them because we don't know if the student is using more than one academy. And we use the High Step Academy, the GED Academy, the Classes Academy. I believe the TABE Academy is ready, but we don't use that. So, but we could if we wanted to. So.
It's true. Anyone who has TABE 11, 12 Academy, the 13, 14 Academy is automatically upgraded and included. Same will be the case with any updates to CASAS goals.
Yeah. And then student status, choose all, please, because I've used Essential Ed at 2 different community colleges as an instructor. And something that was embarrassing was if a student graduated, I would deactivate their account, but then they wouldn't be included on the report because their account wasn't active. So you'll want to choose all, which includes inactive and active, to have all the attendance for that date range that you choose. So anybody using Advances might appreciate that Essential Ed is very fast. I ran a report from January until now. I had it immediately. You can have it. You can run the date ranges by the week, by the month, however your program wants to approach that. This might be a good stopping point for people who might have questions about this page only. Well, I'll go to the next.
Thanks, Karen. I'll keep monitoring the chat in case questions pile up there. I did want to mention that if any of you have attended one of our tweeds, which is Tuesdays with Essential Education, the webinars that are, PD on various topics, we're typically having like 500 or 600 people at a time, and so they're getting really popular. I just want to be clear that those are not archived in the LMS. They're actually publicly available, so you can get them at the link in the URL, and those are just a free resource. So throwing that out there, another freebie. Just wanting if you're still here, we got more free stuff for you. Thank you.
So my recommendation, just to reiterate, leave the teacher and class blank for a program-wide report. The continuous study time shows both. Select all products, and then choose all for student status. So this is what the report looks like. Now I added the yellow highlighting because column I is the new column we're talking about, and it records study time by day. You will want to note that the totals include out of class and in class. So if your program doesn't count both, then you'll need to subtract, let's say, the in class from the total. But most of our students are out of class. They receive pretty good instruction, and so they don't. It's basically Essential Ed is offered to students who can only work online, or this is for us, and if they need to do homework so they can keep up with their class. Sometimes they'll enter a class and say it's too hard, and we'll offer to move them to a different class, and they'll say, no, I want to stay. And we'll say, well, use Essential Ed to get up to speed with your classmates and your teacher. But so as you can see, and there's some fake names on here, but like for $7 student, that person studied 2 hours and 38 minutes. So we would count that as 2.75 in advance. So And this person named Stellar logged in 4 different times. So we don't have to add up 4 different times. We just look at 2.38 or 2.75 in her case. So I'll show you what's next here. Column I is total time per day. And there's no longer a need to add up each time. You'll need a local policy on what to report for your in-class times and out-of-class times. That could be part of a blended or a high flex class. Could high flex include asynchronous times as well? So you might be able to be creative there. And then, although the column adds up daily login times, you can pull by any date range. And so it can be weekly, it can be daily. So in that line of thought, at AB Tech, we build our section as 100% online. It's Monday through Sunday. We do it by the week. You can schedule instruction at a distance with the class format, and we do that. Sometimes a student is about to stop out and we'll call them and say, log into Essential Ed, so you won't be a stop out and have to re-enroll. And they'll do so, and that's when we add instruction at a distance to timestamp the day they got back in our program before the 90-day stop-out period. And so if you record attendance by the week, it helps to end your section on a Sunday before the academic term reporting period ends. So I've already built my summer schedule, and our academic term in August 14th. It's on a Thursday, so that's almost in the middle of the week. So I'm going to have my section, my online section, end on the Sunday prior to August 14th, because if I run it after, it will be reported for the fall and not the summer. So that's something to keep in mind. You can cross-term, but you'd want to be intentional about it. Whether you report Proxy hours by the day or the week, it is helpful to copy and paste the report onto a single spreadsheet with tabs at the bottom. We've done this since probably 2022, maybe earlier. At the end of the semester, you can select all the tabs and hit print, and it will print all your reports on one click. And that's so nice. You don't have to open up each Excel file and print one by one. And so I'll show you what that looks like. We used to record or save our Essential Ed report by the day. And so we would set up a tab for, let's say in this example, July 19th, July 20th, and so forth. And when you click on a tab, it's a blank sheet, and you copy and paste your report on there. And then all your reports are visible very quickly and easy to print. And it is some work up front, but worthwhile when you get to the end of the semester, because I believe we all go through this. We end a semester and begin one at the same time. And so as much as we can do ahead of time, it can help. So now what if we currently have a spreadsheet by the week? So it goes from Monday to Sunday. And so the January 5th, if it says 0105, that's January 5th. Or if it says 0309, that is March 9th. and that would be the Sunday, the last day the class end for that week. And so we would do the date range, for example, at the top, it says January 20th start, and then January 26th end. And then down here, January 26th is the last day of that week. And that's where we post our report and report that on Mondays. But as you can see, we're compliant because we have our start time and end time. And if a student is not working for 8 minutes, Essential Ed logged out, and they have to actively be working. We'll have some students will say, please log in and work. And they'll say, I logged in, but did you work? And so that's a conversation we have. This going by the attendance for the week, I will say my adjunct who was assigned to this section, she was working 18 hours a week and was stressed, saying, I probably need to work more hours, but I don't want more hours. And so that kind of put pressure on me. Well, I'll hire 2 people. And now I run this section 12 hours a week. It reduced that much work. And the instructor's happy because they're on a set schedule that they wanted. And so I think that's fascinating to save that many hours of work a week. So. All right. So I thought I could end this webinar or continue it by a discussion. How does it work for your program? Because how AB Tech does it, we'd be surprised at how another colleges will use Essential Ed. So, or you can send me questions.
Well, Karen, one thing that comes to mind for me is that, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it seems like you're in your happy place dealing with spreadsheets. So that comes from the continuous study time reports or on one of the other exporting data buttons. But we also have in the LMS, very pretty bar charts that show, performance or in class versus out of class. Do you ever use the reports, just for kind of an overview or supervisory kind of role as opposed to the administrative duty of reporting?
I just use the bar graph. They love it, and they screenshot it to talk about it with me. So that is, I'll go back so we can look at what you're referring to. They will pull a student overview learning plan, which is where you can modify a student lesson plan on Essential Ed. Maybe they don't need to go over geometry, they need algebra. But that would be impossible almost. But skill mastery, all of these reports are very useful. And I will say you're looking at a coordinator screen. So instructors would probably not see all of these tabs, but they would see anything they need related to their class. But learning plan, we love that one. We love student overview because you can look at what questions the student missed. This is what we do for student overview. We click in the quiz and we'll say, well, let's see what you missed. And they're meeting with us on Zoom. And so we're going over Essential Ed together. And we count that as in-class time, the Zoom meeting. We go over the question, and then we record the out of class time, we would deduct that. And then in class, we use the Zoom report as instruction at a distance. But there are some questions you can redo and redo, but until someone explains it to you in a different way, it may not click. So that can be very helpful. I've always told my instructors that even though you have a multi-level class and you have to teach social studies, you have to teach math and language arts, essential ed can help you fake it until you make it. So if you're not sure about algebra, use essential ed and their videos and run them in class to support your teaching. And so I can't say enough good things about how this program worked for us, but there's lots of options.
Well, I appreciate the positive feedback. We pride ourselves on being really precise with the tools, whether they're for the students' tools or the teachers' tools or the administrators' tools. One thing that we did about a year ago was we consolidated the highlights of all the reports that are available into one report called Student Progress. And it's we're not in the LMS right now to poke around, but because we don't want to expose anybody's data, but the Student Progress report has these little kind of graphics that show you at a glance who's working, who's stopped out, as you say, who's making gains, how many, who's close to testing, and within 60 seconds you've done triage on your whole enrollment. Well, I mean, if you have 300 active learners, maybe it takes you longer than 60 seconds, but it just really shortens your kind of getting up to speed, and that's in the upper left-hand corner in the LMS. It wasn't necessarily announced to all of our clients nationwide when we added it there, and so sometimes I'm having to point it out that it's a new innovation for us. It's for those who like to run reports and really get a peek at what's happening in real time.
I'd like to share an informal way we use essential ed, and that would be we have access to the college messaging system, like text alerts, and we can create our own groups. And because our reports have their email and username, and we can also, with a different report, pull their phone number as well. This is handy because all the students can be tagged in a class. And so if we're trying to separate learners that are at levels 1 through 4 from the messaging that's intended for levels 5 and 6, then we use essential ed to filter ABE from ASE or GED Academy from CASA's Academy, and we message those groups accordingly, because we can use these spreadsheets to import our group on our messaging system. So.
Yeah, you mentioned one of your strategies for keeping students active, and I wanted to say that there's a mantra that I came up with, that with essential education, the computer is your tutor, but the teacher is the best feature. So we want the educator to be actively involved and not playing a passive role, because the results increase exponentially when the teacher is playing an active role. It's also retention anchor number 6 in our guide is how to keep your students continuing, and that means active facilitation by the teacher. Also, one topic came up earlier. Oh, go ahead, Karen.
I noticed that Jenna has offered to demo the continuing study time report in a live version.
Yeah, I can absolutely show you guys in our demo school. Let's see, get my screen up.
Folks, if you haven't interacted with support@essentialed.com, this is the switchboard operator slash kind of queen fixer of all of Essential Ed's troubleshooting. Jenna Maxey, she troubleshoots like a whiz. So take it
Thanks,
away.
Jason. So here I'm in, I believe this is an administrator account in Essential Ed. And when I first log in, it takes me to the administration tab here. So for this report, we'll just go over to the reports tab. And then study time is the default report here. So looking at the filters, I can tell this is an administrator account because I have the teacher filter here. Like she said, you may see some different options depending on your privileges in Essential Ed. If you are a teacher in the program, the filters will just start with the class filter. So as the administrator, I'm going to do as she said and just leave these on the default. So this will show all students enrolled in this school in Essential Ed. And then we'll select all students. For the date range, we can look at a week period. We'll do Monday to Sunday, similar to Karen's program. And then in and out of class, like she said, that the continuous study time report will always show the data for both locations. Since this report was designed specifically for North Carolina, it functions a little differently. So the location is not quite as important when running that continuous study time report. And then you can run it for any specific product, but if you would like to capture all of the time across your courses, if you have students working in both GED and HiSET or the ABE courses as well, you want to select all products. And then we have the student status again. We'll select all just so we make sure that we're capturing those students who may have been deactivated since this study period as well. Since I went back about 3 weeks in the date range, it's possible that students could have been deactivated since that period. So selecting all for the student status will ensure that we capture their time, even though they may not be studying with the program any longer. And I'll click See Report, and that generates this bar graph here. I always recommend clicking See Report after selecting all your filters because it can update depending on what you've selected. So if you're running multiple reports, you want to remember to click See Report every time so it will update all of that information. And then we just click Export Continuous Study Time, and that will capture all of that data, and it shows up in the downloads right here. So you have that Excel spreadsheet, and I've already got this one open in the other window. So here's that data that it gives you. These are just some test accounts that we have in our system, not real students, but we can see the type of data that it gives us here. It has the start and end time. So like Karen said, these are the login time. So once the student accesses the system, that clock starts ticking. But if they do not move after more than 8 minutes, the time will stop tracking. So they're not accumulating unwarranted study time in the system. Another thing to note when looking at the study time is that our program also has a study time cap for each assignment. So in addition to that 8-minute time limit for inactivity, students can only earn up to 400% of the estimated time to complete an assignment. So if the estimated time is an hour and the student reaches that 4-hour mark, the time will stop counting. So you'll usually note that here in the total study time column. If it ends exactly on the minute, a 0, and it's usually a nice round number like 0 or 20 in the minute field as well, that would indicate that the student timed out of that lesson. So when you're looking at the report, that can be an indicator that the student is struggling with that lesson if they're going over that estimated time to complete. And then here we have that new field as well, total time per day. And then we have both the in and out of class time on this report here. Anybody have any questions about the report itself or the process for obtaining it?
I see in the comment that someone adds the Zoom time to this report at the end, and that sounds very efficient to me. So that's something I'll look at with my instructor to see if they would like to do that. Because we have a separate spreadsheet for Zoom. Does anybody use the report?
Yeah, what? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what I usually do is I run the report and then sort by teacher so that I can send it out to each of my teachers to enter the time and advances. And before I send it out to them, I go to the very right here where you have like column L. I put in, you know, like, oh, that total time per day for that first student, I put in 0.75. And I go through and put in what it would be entered for each of those students. And then on the M column, I put the Zoom time. And then N, I have them add the two columns together. And then I can just submit this, send it out to each of my teachers, you know, their students. And then they can enter the time. And then we've got two eyes checking that we're all on the same page. And it's been checked twice before it's being entered.
A great way to do it. I'll stop sharing my screen and pass it back to you, Karen.
Let's see. I'll look through the chat and see if anything would relate to what I'm talking about. Thank you, Lloyd, for your input on the chat. It has been used for us. It saved us time, and we all sort of overwork in this field, and so that's where you can get bonus points when we can have a little time to work with students one-on-one instead of admin work. Yeah. Let's see. Yes, you can. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, while you're looking at the chat, I was going to say that word efficiency is what inspired this webinar, and the steps you've taken to be more efficient with data collection and inspired us to refine our tools has been really helpful. And something we were talking about before when we were rehearsing is that a year or two ago we started a partnership with DRC, the providers of TABE, that actually funnels the IPR data from the TABE online database into our LMS. And so that is another efficiency step where you get diagnostic driven instruction because it's prompting the teacher to assign the lessons that are slated for next study according to the IPR data from TABE. Well, as of last month, we are doing the same partnership with CASAS and their CASAS goals test as well. So that is largely because the field has been pushing them to catch up to our partnership with TABE. So I'm excited about it. I might have even done a little rabble rousing to help bring it about, and I'm excited that that's going to be an option for you guys. And it'll pretty soon, you know, the individualized learning plans will just be directly created by the diagnostics that you have from your pre or post test from CASAS. Just more efficiency measures.
Tracy says that she's that their report for 30 days to automatically deactivate the account.
Yeah, there's arguments for and against a long leash. Full disclosure, when I ran the statewide distance learning program for Virginia, and I had a 14-day no logging in, no activity threshold where I would inactivate student accounts. But it creates more work for you because they come back saying, where's my account? And so you have to turn it back on. So it's kind of a balancing act to figure out where is the reasonable place to put that threshold for keeping their account active. And I always recommend learner contracts that establish what your expectation is of them, and vice versa, what they can expect from you as in terms of your boundaries and terms for giving them an online learning program that they can use on the device that lives in their pocket.
I'll show you where, if you're not sure, Tracy says it helps with student communication, and that is true. They have a number of reasons why they're not logging in as they should. I would say one, they got a new job. That's probably the biggest reason why. Another reason would be internet problem. And so that they don't always know that they can ask for help. That you actually must teach them how to ask for help. And so if you can initiate that conversation, it does help. But let me go back to the PowerPoint and show you. Oh, go back. If you would go to administration, and on this side over here, and then immediately go to the far left, and it will say, what does it say, school or organization? And you would click on that, and you can customize your program, including how many days an account can be active without use. Something to note if you're worried about overlap, the FPAQ is our overlap report on colleague. If your section is built 100% online, it is omitted from the FPAQ report. So that was intentional.
Karen, I'm reposting the links to the free resources in the chat in case the tiny URLs get filtered out by some of your spam blockers or what have you. It seems to have happened to at least one person, so trying to repost those. But also you can email jason@essentialed.com, and happy to send hard copies if you prefer a paper pencil version of a teacher's guide. But here comes one more link in the chat.
I'll take it to the end. There's Jason's email. And Jenna can also provide support if something's not as it should be. You can reach out to her. Dan is excellent at listening to our feedback. So if you have something that you wish could happen, he always has a listening ear for that. I wouldn't be here on this meeting today if it weren't for his collaboration with AB Tech and Essential Ed. And my email is available. If you have any general question, if you want to know what it's like from a college perspective. So I do oversee all the usage of Essential Ed here at AB Tech. So from account creation, reporting, and then how we put it in advantage.
Karen, have you tried the Spanish GED or HiSET Academy?
That is a different program here in our department, and we have a different coordinator who opted to study on a different platform, but we have tried it, but that was before it was completed. And so to give it a fair chance, we need to get back on there and see how it is now.
We have
Right.
in the room Julia Herbon, who's the GED and Spanish person at Wake Tech. Are you using Essential Ed, Julia?
Yes, I am. So we started using that in April. So not long ago, we were using a different platform, the competition, and we love it. We love Essential Ed, and so that's why I was attending this webinar just make sure we have the right reports. So thank you very much. It was the right timing for us. So our students love it, and they're putting a lot of hours, and I think it's pretty much similar to the other components or other academies in Essential Ed.
Thank you for that feedback. We did just go live with the fully completed GED and HiSET academies on of all dates, April 1st, but no fooling. It's all narrated in Espanol by native Spanish speakers, live actors, not AI robots or any of that. So it's otherwise identical to GED and HiSET Academy. Same pricing and everything.
Yes, and what we really like is, that dashboard has so much information for students, and that practice test that they take at the beginning is like taking a GED ready. And so right from the get-go, they will know where they are and how much progress they have to make. So we really appreciate that tool. It's a great visual for students, very easy to navigate.
Well, it's good to finally be able to meet that need. I have been working in this role for 13 years, and at least the last 10 years, I have been, pressured to come up with GED Academy in Spanish, and finally we can deliver. So, not saying the floodgates have opened. I'm in this part of the country. It's kind of a trickle, but there's the folks who it can help. They oftentimes can pass the GED test next week if they have the right tools. So there's a lot of low-hanging fruit out there that to be able to harvest. I don't know. The analogy is lost there. But anyway, thanks for letting me plug that. I always like to share good news.
I'm curious because I've heard several people mention, I guess written Spanish isn't quite as maybe universal as written English, and that people struggle sometimes depending on where they're from. Like how is that working with this program? I'm curious about. Does my question make sense?
Oh yeah, the first
Okay.
part that we created was within the RLA section of GED Academy, and it's just called Idioma Español, and it's really to help them work on their language skills so that they have that in hand before they embark on all the other subjects where they're going to need those skills to learn and make gains and demonstrate those gains. So we always recommend starting with Idioma Español for everybody who plans to take the test in Spanish. But then the follow-up question is, okay, well, is it Peruvian? Is it Argentine? Is it from Spain? Is it from Spain? And it's Latin American Spanish and not Castellano Spanish from Spain.
Yeah, see, I think is traditional, and I see what Laurie, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I've seen some translations in textbooks, and they are awful. And again, if you read traditional Spanish, then it doesn't matter where you're from, you will be able to comprehend it.
Thank you all. I appreciate your input.
Well, thank you, Dan Logus, for allowing us to convene all these practitioners in one place to exchange ideas. Is a lot of good development comes out of these conversations. We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks to Jason and Jenna, and of course Karen for doing this presentation. This is a constant question: which report do we run? Which report do we run? Not just for Essential Ed, for all of the software. So there have been a couple questions recently about Aztec. So I'm working on putting something together where Aztec can teach you which report to run. And now that we, since the pandemic, we now have a PD archive. And so this Essential Ed webinar will be put in the PD archive, and anytime somebody needs to know which report to run, they can go watch this. So hopefully we will eventually have that for all of them. So thanks again, Jason, Karen, and Jenna. It was great.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed this.
Great. Thanks, Karen.